calls for an inquiry into shady attempts to bring back Dominic Cummings. What? We're going to read into this more from Sky News, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from Sky News with the headline, "There are calls for an inquiry into shady attempts to bring back Dominic Cummings." The controversial former aide to Boris Johnson said the two meetings took place between him and Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, but he declined an offer to return to number 10. The Liberal Democrats said it is a clear breach of the ministerial code. Hold up, back up a second. This is Dominic Cummings we're talking about. This is the same guy that tried to siege power in number 10. There was a battle of wills in number 10 during the COVID, during the pandemic. This is the same guy that was brought in by Boris Johnson. Why would you try to bring him back in? Like, this is not somebody. Like, I don't understand the premise of why Rishi Sunak would want to bring this guy back in. He cannot. Let's just say he cannot be trusted. None of them can be trusted, to be honest. But why this guy? This is the thing that kind of baffles me the most. So the first thing that baffles me is, of course, it's Dominic Cummings. That he wants to bring back Dominic Cummings, of all people, back into the fold. Which I think, just, it's almost like desperation for me. Like a desperate attempt for him to cling on. Like, this guy helped Boris get over the line with delivering Brexit. Maybe this guy can make a difference. I don't know. Maybe that's the reasons why. Probably he's trying to get him because maybe Rishi Sunak doesn't have any brains and he doesn't have any ideas of how to win an election. Maybe that might be the reason. But and then obviously here the Liberal Democrats saying it's a clear breach of the ministerial code. Like, I mean, how many times have the rules and laws have been broken by the Conservatives? Who's gonna hold them to account? I mean, like, yeah. Does this surprise me? No. Do I think any real action is going to be taken? Probably not. It's news we've heard before. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's wrong that they're doing this, but that they're doing this behind the back of the public's interest. But I don't know. Maybe something will come of it. I don't know. But hand on heart, I just think, like, they're breaching the ministerial code. They're lying in Parliament. They're making remarks about this, and nothing really comes of it. To be fair. Let's read into it, you guys. So, the Liberal Democrats have called for an inquiry into whether Rishi Sunak breached the ministerial code by holding secret meetings with Dominic Cummings. The Times reported on Sunday that the Prime Minister had held two sets of talks with the former chief advisor to Boris Johnson as he considered bringing the controversial figure back into Downing Street. Mr Cummings later confirmed the meetings in December 2022 and July 2023 in a blog post, claiming that he turned down an offer to work secretly for Mr Sunak. So he was claiming. So according to his blog, he's basically saying that he had meetings with them in December 2022 and July 2023, and then was offered to work secretly with them. But while the number 10 source did not deny the discussions took place, they claimed that no job was offered. Right. Labour criticised the Prime Minister for secretly begging Mr Barnard Castle to run Downing Street again, saying it showed that he was out of ideas in 2 weeks to come up with his own. Well, that's exactly how it looks. I mean, you brought back David Cameron, and now you're trying to bring back him. It seems like you can't think of any new ideas. That's how it comes across to me. It feels like very helpless. And rather than look for new and initiative ideas, let's just rehash some old ones, in the hopes that they'll work. That rather than come up with new and creative ideas. That kind of how it comes across to me, at least anyway. Now the Lib Dems have gone a step further, claiming the meetings with Mr Cummings had not been recorded on Mr Sunak's transparency returns, despite the requirement of the ministerial code to record any meetings where official business is discussed. Called for an official inquiry, the party's chief whip, Wendy Chamberlain, said there had been a clear breach of the ministerial code, adding that these shady attempts to bring back Cummings through the back door need to be properly scrutinised. We urgently need to know why these meetings weren't declared in the proper way, and if any officials were present or informed. Well, they'll probably say there was no job offer, it was just a meeting, it was just an off-the-cuff discussion, catching up on old times. That's what it'll be. That's what they'll try and paint it as, I think. I think that's what they'll try to paint it as, but... And given reports that major changes to the government policy were discussed that would impact on millions of people's lives, from taxes to the NHS, the public service deserves full transparency, not another cover-up. Well, there's going to be a lot more skeletons coming out when they're gone, that's for sure. But a government spokesperson denied any wrongdoing, saying, in full accordance with the ministerial code, meetings with the private individuals to discuss political matters need not be declared. The talks come back to bite Sunak. So this is political correspondent Rob Powell, out of office but still causing problems for prime ministers. The discussions that we know took place between Dominic Cummings and Rishi Sunak raised several practical and political questions. Firstly, was these ministerial codes broken, and through the failure to declare these talks? Liberal Democrats says yes, as it alleged that official business like taxation and the NHS were discussed. The government says no, claiming that the talks were in a private capacity and to discuss political matters. Secondly, has Rishi Sunak been honest about his dealings? Sunak and honesty doesn't really rhyme here. During July 2022, a leadership campaign, he said Dominic Cummings would have absolutely nothing to do with the government he led, yet months later the pair were speaking. Thirdly, does this add to the existing tensions between the Prime Minister and his party? Some right-wing MPs will see this as a proof of collusion between Rishi Sunak and the man who did more than most to bring down Boris Johnson. Other moderates were critical of Dominic Cummings' methods in the government, will question the judgment of consulting a controversial figure. Lastly, does this tell us anything about Rishi Sunak's political instincts or any directions to his administration? It comes across as mass panic for me. That's how it for me, because you're bringing back somebody rather than bringing in a new fresh face that will help re-energise the party in any way. That's how it comes across to me. You have to change things over time. You know, things come and go, and change is an inevitable thing in life. But rehashing old things doesn't always work. And they brought back David Cameron, and now that he was trying to bring back Dominic Cummings, it just seems like that he doesn't have something new to work with, if you know what I mean. After bringing back David Cameron, Labour had sought to frame these latest revelations as evidence of a Prime Minister out of ideas and desperately reaching out to political figures of years gone by for guidance. Downing Street would dispute that. What's clear, though, is that more evidence of aftershock caused by troublous decades in politics coming back to damage Downing Street. According to Sky News, Labour's Shadow Paymaster General Jonathan Ashworth added his call to the meetings to be looked into, saying it was curious that they weren't declared by the Prime Minister and has promised to restore integrity. Yeah, he promised to restore integrity, didn't he, Prime Minister Sunak? How's that going, by the way? He added that he's not being straight with the British people. He actually stood on a podium and said Dominic Cummings would have nothing to do with his government and his words, and now on his knees begging Dominic Cummings to return to Downing Street. God. He misled, has not lied to the British people, so of course these things need to be looked into properly, but in the end it's typical of Rishi Sunak. He can't deliver on his promises, whether that's fixing the NHS or whether that's making the easing of the cost of living crisis because he put up tax or stopping the boats. All the promises that he makes to the British people, he breaks. According to a post on Mr Cummings' blog on Sunday, the first meeting between him and Mr Sunak took place shortly after the latter took over number 10 at the end of 2022. PM wanted an actual plan, including how to get to grip power and get things done, a political strategy and a political machine to change the political landscape and beat Labour, wrote Mr Cummings. I don't know how they're going to do that right now. The former advisor insinuated a job offer was put to him, saying he might do it, but his acceptance had conditions, including changes to nuclear weapons infrastructure, pandemic planning, and the approach to AI. But he said Mr Sunak decided against the deal I proposed and instead wanted Mr Cummings to work secretly on politics and communications in return for a promise that I could come to number 10 as some sort out my priorities after the election, something the advisor declined. So he wanted him to work in secret and then say, once it's all done, then we'll get you a position in number 10. And I'm just like, really? You going to guarantee that? I wouldn't buy that. I think he was right, yeah, to say no. Mr Cummings said the pair then spoke in July 2020 when he was asked to see him again, but it was essentially a repeat of the conversation from the previous year. I said I could try to turn things around, but my core conditions were the same, he wrote. I was not prepared to work as a secret political advisor to win the election without assurances on deep state priorities and the ability to ensure urgent action was taken. No deal was possible. Asked about the meetings, and Number 10 source said it was a broad discussion about politics and campaigning. No job was offered. Oh dear, guys. I just think like this is a desperate man running out of time. The clock is ticking on the current Prime Minister. It really is coming along like that. That's how it's painted to me, guys. Yeah, time is running out for Rishi Sunak. But another thing as well is that we're not 100% sure when the election will come, but we know it'll come at some point. And hopefully Labour will knock the Conservatives out, or we have a hung Parliament. We'll wait and see. And I say hung Parliament, I mean majority Labour, obviously less than Conservative, but we'll have to wait and see on that one, guys. There's still a lot to come. But is this the end of Dominic Cummings? Will we hear the last of him? Somehow I don't think so. He may still have more to play in the COVID inquiry as well. So I don't think this is going to be the last we're going to hear of Dominic Cummings. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think of Rishi Sunak's desperate attempts to bring back Dominic Cummings? Do you think the Prime Minister has run out of ideas? Do you actually think that Dominic Cummings was actually serious about taking an offer to go back into Downing Street if he was offered? What do you guys honestly think? Let me know in the comments section down below. Hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified when I upload another video. And if you want to financially support me, you can do so by joining me on YouTube membership for just 99p, or also on Patreon for exclusive content. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.